Good afternoon, YouTube. This is Jesse again. Just going to give you a little bit of a tech tip. Working on a 2001 Acura Integra GSR, and problem was a no start. The lady had to tow her vehicle, and unfortunately, here in the DC area, people get a little bit crazy on their prices for repair. And I understand that everyone needs to make a living, but sometimes it gets a little bit outrageous in this area because people take advantage of people. So anyways, I just want to give you a little bit of a tech tip, and hopefully I can help some of you figure a problem out and figure out how to correct this issue for this Acura. So anyways, this Acura is a 2001 Integra. It's a 5-speed Acura, and it had a no-start condition, and it was described as a problem with our neutral safety switches. On the Integras, you have an A and B switch. Now, they're not interchangeable. As you can see, you have a thinner, thread, or a smaller thread than this one. So here's one 17 millimeter, and I believe the other one's a 14 millimeter. Okay, so you can't get them backwards. However, they kind of work in conjunction, and when I looked at it, it looked like the previous mechanic had boogered up the wires that came off of the actual harness, so I'm going to have to fix those. But his initial response to the customer was that the switches were bad. Okay, and if you know switches, often these switches don't actually go bad because they're either open or closed, and they're quite simply checked by using an ohm meter. You can put it at the lowest setting at 2,000 ohms, and then you just go between these two, and then you basically press this, right? If the spring is gone, then you know you have a problem with the switch. But as I had tested these quickly checked out to be good. So the technician wanted to charge her $160 for this switch. Now you can get them online over on Rock Auto for something like 16 bucks. But after further investigation, I realized the switch wasn't bad. However, I'll tell you what was bad on this clutch. All right, it wasn't starting because, obviously you have to push in the clutch on these vehicles in order to start it. So you have bump stops. You have a bump stop here, right? And then you have a bump stop on the inside, okay? Now that inside bump stop is right over here, okay? Now, when these bump stops go bad, what happens is, this was the old bump stop, and I replaced it. They crumble, and they basically fall on your doormat, okay? One of them was still good, and you can see this is kind of old and dried out, and it didn't take very much for it to come out. So what I had to do to replace it was I actually had to pull out the clutch pedal. Okay, this is the easiest way, especially this one right here. This is because if you get up on an Integra or a Civic, you're going to realize that this pedal is very difficult to get to. You have no room to get something in there. Now, you could probably wedge a screwdriver or try to work it in, but you could spend an hour. But I'll tell you what the easiest way to actually get this thing out is to actually pull the pedal out, as you see here, okay? Now, the pedal, if you see over here, is actually connected. You have a rod that goes basically through here, okay? And that rod is going to connect it to the slave cylinder for the clutch. Now, in this case, hers happens to be leaking a little bit, so I'm going to recommend that she replaces that. But anyways, you just pull that cotter pin out, you slide that out, and then after that, you only have that one bolt here on the right side over here, right there. Then you have another bolt right here, and then on top there is another bolt that sits right over here, okay? And they're all 12 millimeter bolts. Once you pull those bolts out, you can just fish this thing out, and then you have easy access to the bump stops. You can replace both bump stops at the same time, and then you're back in business. You just put it back. Now, in this case, you're going to actually have to put the pedal back in before you actually put this in, because it's going to be very difficult for you to get the actual bolt up there. You're going to have an extension, you're going to have a socket, and it's pretty tight. So you could just simply screw this in to the set point, tighten it down, and just plug it in. It'll be a little bit easier than actually getting this in. You could probably do it, but you really have to, because the space underneath the instrument panel is kind of tight, I would recommend that you actually keep it out and put it in. Either way you can do it, but that's the way I'm going to do it. In this case right here, this one right here is actually going to go right here, okay? And I'll have to set that. And unfortunately, the guy who had worked on it before had boogered up the connector by pulling this out. He twisted it, and the connector broke on the inside. So I have to replace the connector or fix the connector. So this will be exactly where it needs to be, and shouldn't be no problem. So how much did they want to charge for this entire job? You know, a lot of people will say, well, the guy has to make a living, he has a shop, and so forth. Well, obviously you have the diagnostic fee, which, you know, over here you're looking at probably about $120 to $140 in the DC area, which is pretty much the running rate. Now, I don't charge that rate, but obviously I have to make money too, and I don't do this stuff for free. This is a good friend, and I'm not charging her too much, but $150 for a diagnosis fee, and then you're looking at a switch. If you really want to replace a switch, that wouldn't have fixed the problem. You'd actually have to get the bump stops, and the bump stops do not come with a switch. So I anticipated the person already knew what the problem was. He was going to charge her for $130 for the switch, replace the bump stops, leave the old switch in, and charge her the money. So you're looking at a total of $16 if you get these Dorman plugs right here. If you've got the OEM style one, all right, it's 74015. Okay, you get one of these black ones, which are not like one of these white ones. I would recommend putting in the white ones because those are the ones I know work. These could probably work, but I don't want to take the chance because I'm doing all this work. So that was $16. You can get them online for $8. But if you need them right now, you can go to the Advanced Auto or you go to AutoZone and pick those up. And then you simply put them in there. Now they squeeze in there a little bit tight. In order to get this one in here, I simply took a rubber mallet, just like this. And then I took a punch or something round, a small maybe socket, and you put it in here. And then you tap it lightly so it just gets to the end, because you have like a nipple that has to actually hold on the side so it doesn't fall back out. Once that's done, it's all finished. You could put it right back. So what am I going to do here? I'm going to fix that cable. I'm going to put that cable back in, put this switch back in, and send this off the road. So they wanted essentially $500. $500 to replace the bump stops. $500. That's an awful lot of money in my opinion. If you think it's a lot of money, let me know. I think it's a lot of money. I understand a person needs to make money. It's unfortunate in our business. There are a lot of people that rip people off. I am not one of those kind of people. I'll let you know what the problem is. I don't care if you fix it with me. You'll pay the diagnosis fee, and then you could be on your way. But for this switch, I get it. You would probably have to take the pedal out to do this job. You're probably looking at an hour and a half labor, and I don't see this job costing more than $300, you know, at a shop. Maybe 30 minutes to figure out what the problem was, because it's just a neutral safety switch problem, okay? And maybe an hour and a half worth of labor to get this switch out and put it back in with $18 worth of parts. $300 I think would be reasonable. You know, I couldn't really complain about that price if I were a customer. It's because obviously the person has to make money, but $500 I thought was excessive. So anyways, I will get onto this job. Hopefully you learned something from it. If you have a no-start condition on an Acura or a Honda, a 2000 model, you will see that in here, okay, that there's the two switches and the cabling. And you can see I pulled this out in order to get some of those switches out, or the things. If you loosen that up, it makes it a little bit easier to get the plugs out, all right? I'll just put that pedal back in, and I'll hook up the wires, and she'll be good to go. Hope you liked the video. If you did, smash that like button. If you have any comments, leave the comments, and hopefully you learned something, and hopefully get your car back up and running. Thanks a lot.